Hey Libra. Okay, Libra, immediately jumping in. Really quickly, this is a series in relation for the zodiac sign in relation to the School of Athens by Raphael Sanzio. This is an experimental series that I'm doing on this channel. Before we dive in, Libra, you already caught something and it needs to be addressed before we continue. So immediately, the details is what you're looking at, and thank goodness I think Venus just went direct, because for a while there I think you were a little confused and you weren't catching all the details. Okay, or you were restricted in some way, but unfortunately you caught a mistake. Okay, you caught an error in something, and it could have been a test you were taking, something you left something out. Okay, something. You forgot one tiny insignificant detail, okay? It was one tiny thing that you forgot, but unfortunately, it's going to cost you a couple points, right? So there's something about that, Libra. You have all the facts lined up. In fact, you had everything lined up perfectly, but somehow when it came time to the test or came time to do it, or came time to execute, you missed a step, or you missed one thing, and that's typically how it happens, right? It's like you get to the point of executing something, and then unfortunately you miss that one thing, and then it's like, that one thing costs you the test, or it costs you 10 points, or it costs you have to do it all over again for that one little mistake, right? There's something about that. Actually, there's something coming through, a message there. Libra, maybe something like that has occurred in your life here recently, or you find that your relationships with people people can see that you know what you're doing. They're looking for a fault. Sometimes it feels that way. Maybe you think it is too, where it's almost like you either perceive in others only their faults, or everyone only perceives the faults in you in some way. It's like they can overlook all the good that you've done, all the good that you have contributed to a situation, or everything that you've gotten right. Technically, you've gotten everything right, but no, a person or a situation or a group of people or something like that, they want to look at only the wrong thing that you did, only the one mistake, which technically wasn't even that big of a mistake. And even if you're looking back on it, you're going, yeah, I knew it was a mistake, but either you did it anyway, Libra, or you just completely forgot, right? Because you were doing so much. You were in charge of so much. You were responsible for so much. Weighing the scales of the universe is a tough job, guys. Only the best can do it, right? Anyway, there's something speaking to that, Libra. Maybe you had too much on your plate, or maybe 177, you could be seeing that number. 177, we'll look it up in a second, because I've been seeing it myself. And I am a Libra. Okay, Libra. Someone's quick to look at your faults. They're quick to look at everything you've done wrong, but they're not looking at what you have done right. Or, again, this is you, and you need to not be so critical with others. Or again, it's something about taking something you say out of context. It's like maybe you agree with someone on everything but this one thing. Or maybe someone agrees with you on everything but this one issue, right? So it's something like that. It's almost like 3/4 of a situation are fulfilled, but that 1/4 could be the make or break of a relationship. It can either be the make or break of a connection, of a conversation, of some sort of important test or thing that you're doing. Is it an initiation? Is it an initiation you're going through? Do you have to get it right? Is it important that you get it right? Maybe it is. And maybe unfortunately, there is no room for error. No room for error, Libra, is what is partially your message, Libra. No room for error. Now, maybe, I have no idea, I'm just getting the downloads, guys, as it's coming in, then we'll relate it to your overall message. Okay? Maybe you're not allowing any more room for error in your life, period. Or, and when I say this, because Libras, we technically are very fair, right? When you've perceived, when someone has shown you finally who they are and you believe them and you've given them multiple chances to prove themselves or who they are as people, as persons, and you finally close the door on that chapter of your life and walk away. When Libras do that, it's very hard on others, on the collective. No matter where you have Libra in your chart, with people, person, when you do that, when you finally make the decision to balance your life out and close the door on people who know that they did you wrong, have not done anything to amend themselves about it. You know, they think you're tucked away in your ignorance. Of course you know. Of course you know. We Libras are just not vocal about what they know. They'll take what they know in silence. 10101 on the clock when I just said that. 101. Yeah, Libra, you know. You know, when you know someone has done you wrong again and again and again, and you've even given them possibly multiple opportunities to do right by you, and they don't because they're either afraid or afraid of the repercussion, because they're afraid of karma is what they're afraid of, Libra. Let's just be real. The scales of the universe are about balance, and when you go trying to tip the scales of the universe and you're caught by the universe for trying to tip those scales, yeah, I'd be afraid of that karma too. And it's not necessarily karma that Libra's dishing out to you, right? Or a person feels that maybe you're dishing a heavy hand, a heavy dose of karma. Maybe the sentence is too strong, right? The sentence is too great, too dire for the crime. The sentence doesn't match the crime, right? That's something about that. Wow. You could work in law, be in law enforcement, or maybe you've even been in the courts for a while. Okay, the sentence doesn't match the crime. Libra is what I feel like you're saying to yourself right now. Something's been unfair in your life in many ways. And either this is how you're treating people, or this is how, again, people have been treating you. Where something you did or perceived the sentence simply hasn't matched the crime for whatever it is. Maybe says someone also doesn't believe they deserve your indifference. Someone would hope. Someone doesn't think they deserve your indifference. Maybe. Maybe. But I promise you, to the Libras I'm speaking to, you didn't arrive at this decision lightly. You didn't arrive at this decision carelessly. The sentence may not fit the crime, but Libra, I think you gave the due diligence. I think you gave the due diligence. Let's talk to your philosopher, Libra, before I get all bottled up. Libra, now, like Taurus, you pulled Aristotle. Before I forget, also what I was going to say, Libra, what did you catch, by the way? It was about someone's identity. Virgo and Leo, I forgot to pull cards. They're cards here, they're identifiers. I have yours out here, but you're the first one. I forgot to pull Virgos and Leos. So there's something about identification. How am I going to identify myself. Libra, you've got your identity. You've got your pass card. So Virgo and Leo are under judgment for something. They're not passing the test. Why? Why? They didn't pass the test. Could be a quiz. Could even be a quiz in mathematics. We are in school, right? This is technically the School of Athens that we are studying in this fresco today. So there's something about a test. Libra. Maybe you cheated on a test. Maybe you had the knowledge that they didn't have. There's something about that. But for now, Libra, I don't know what's happening here. Oh my God. Because Libra, and if you did cheat, I feel the need to say this, because I did cheat on a test once, guys. I can only come from personal experience. I cheated on a test once. It was a history test. And I cheated because it wasn't for not studying. It was actually, I was going through a very traumatic situation in my life at the time. And I can speak to you Libras, who probably can resonate with this. And again, the crime doesn't match the punishment, right? But again, maybe it does, because cheating's cheating. Cheating's cheating. Okay, I did. I cheated on this test. It was a history test. I was going through a loss in my time at the time, and I had no room in my schedule over that last course of 2 weeks to study at all. I basically had to cram everything into a single day. This big test that determined my grade, basically. And I had no time. I literally had no time to study for this class. And Libras, if you're like me, and I suspect many of you are, I made the one and only time in my education I ever cheated on a test. And I didn't cheat hard. Well, let's put it this way. I just had notes, pre-written notes that I brought with me into the test so that I could peek at those while I was taking the test. And my instructor caught me. She had caught me, and after class, she confronted me about it, and I was honest with her. I told her what was going on. I told her what was going on in my life, but she still had to deduct my grade, and it gave me a really low score in that class. And from that one test, right? I'm not saying this to brag or to be proud, but I feel like the knowledge for some reason has to come out right now, so I'm sharing. I've never shared this story before, guys, but I'm sharing it now. Here it comes. Anyway, yeah, so I was going through a loss at the time, and I had no time to study for this test. Simply had no time. And I'm thinking, Libra, there's something, if this story is relevant to you, you are going to think upon the times in your life when, the only times I feel like Libras cheat, and the only times when, or maybe you're called into question, is when those traumatic events are happening in your life, right? And now I'm also telling you, sometimes you have to cheat in life. There's skills like that too, right? As long as you're willing to deal with the consequences of your actions. Don't commit the crime for which you're not prepared to serve the sentence, Libra. You know what I mean? Don't commit the crime for which you're not prepared to serve the sentence. And maybe you did something back in the past, or maybe someone did something to you back in the past. It's the only reason you can relate to it. Or maybe someone's saying, well, Libra, you've committed crime in the past. You've done wrong in the past, right? Why should you be the one to be allowed to turn your back on other people who've done wrong? Why are you allowed to walk away? This sense of fairness, right? And again, we're not talking about it's the individual choice here, guys. You have every reason and every right to walk away, especially when you've done that inner healing work, or you've You've gone through your dark night of the soul. You have been judged. You did go through karma. You've gone through loss, too, for your actions in the past. You served your time. Time served. Libra, if you chose to walk away, that technically is not only your right, it's your prerogative, you know? It's your business. And others may not understand that. But others have not gone through your journey either. Your journey is unique to and for yourself. Libra decides you want to walk away. They want to walk away. That's their business. And they don't owe you an explanation. They don't owe you anything. You don't owe anyone an explanation for yourself. Okay? I didn't even owe my teacher that explanation, but but you know, of course it was my education. It's a serious matter. It was a serious matter. You know, that one grade affected my grade point average that year. Yeah. So, and it was a big deal. And I it's not something I was proud of. I wasn't proud to have been in that situation that I thought I had to do that. And I've never done it again, but that's not the point. It's like that was what I had to do, or I thought I had to do at the time. And I was wrong. And I got caught. So Libra, you got caught. If someone around you got caught, or you caught someone doing something that they knew was wrong, no room for error. That is really the message, Libra. Okay, let's dive into the fresco. Now that our personals are out of the way, 1:11:33 on my timer. Here we go. Aristotle. At his best, man is the noblest of all animals. Separated from law and justice, he is the worst. Wow. What a perfect quote. At his best, at your best, Libra, you are the noblest of all animals. You are the most noble. But at his worst, separated from law and justice, he is at his worst. In Libra, when you are separated from your scales, when you are separated from balance because of lack, because of loss, when your scales are tipped and you are separated from your center, you make mistakes. You make mistakes. And you sometimes do them knowingly too. Sometimes you do it knowingly, Libra. Or you are prepared to take the consequences of your actions. There's that. As long as you're prepared to take the consequences. But Libra, this is the issue today. This is what we're talking about. Lord, here we go. Libra stands for balance, fairness, and harmony. Aristotle, with his teachings on ethics, politics, and logic, sought the golden mean, a perfect fit for Libra's ideals. No shit. Libra, I think we're confident enough to speak about this today. I'm confident enough to share this story with you guys today. Not something I'm proud of, but we're here. And this, in part, too, has shaped me and my education. It was a hard lesson. It was a hard lesson, Libra. Now, Aristotle. In the fresco, he's talking about the argument here between Aristotle and Plato is the classical argument is that Plato would argue that knowledge comes from the heavens. Aristotle would argue that no, knowledge comes from the earth. It comes from our surroundings. It comes from our environment where it's around us. I can look around me and find the evidence of the source of my knowledge. Really, it's both. We know this in Hermetics, right? Libra, and also what Raphael's depicting here in the School of Athens fresco is that there has to be balance between the two. We know that the knowledge we see from the heavens, which is why Plato is depicted pointed upward at the heavens, is because whatever knowledge is received here has to be intuited and grounded in reality by Eris and Eris. This is really what's being said here in this fresco. And Aristotle is wearing a blue robe, which is matched to the high priestess. Plato is wearing a red robe, which is can be matched to the magician, let's say, or the emperor. It's about grounding the root chakra, right? Our words, the throat chakra with blue. Plato wears a purple tunic, the crown chakra. Aristotle is wearing a brown tunic. We could say this is earth, right? Grounding, earth. Earth, and really it's just saying we're grounding the practical with our intuition, earth and sky. There's laws of the universe that have to be obeyed, and they will be obeyed, okay? It's up to us to determine right from wrong. But, yeah. Big deal. Big deal. Libra, your balance was knocked off for a while. Someone thinks you're getting away with something. Maybe you are. I don't know. Something doesn't think something's fair. Someone owes the other person an apology. An apology wants to be given for what wasn't fair. Are you receiving it, Libra? No? 7 of Wands, 7 of Fire. You're very resistant, as a matter of fact. Maybe you don't want to hear it. Maybe, again, you've given someone time and time and time an opportunity, again, to do something right, and they still choose not to. They can't even find the words to express to you. I don't know. The situation is love. Virgo just had this message. Water. Being a receptor. Being receptor of water. Also, Virgo's message, something about, if you make a claims against me with no proof, I will also disprove. Okay, if you make claims against me with no evidence, I will also disprove your claims with no evidence. So the counter arguments can be made here, Libra. Remember, the sentence doesn't fit the crime, but there is no room for error in this situation. And maybe a situation quite simply has just reached that point where there's no more room for error, even if you wanted to give it. Even if you wanted to give it, the only thing you can give now is love. I understand. I hear you. And maybe that's all someone wants, is just for you to be receptive to what they have to tell you. Or you want someone to be receptive to something you have to say. Libra, there's that. There's that. Because no, we're human. We're not perfect. But where are you, Libra? How are you planning to be receptive to this? Do you want to? What's the deal? What's your deal? What's your deal, Libra? That's Christ's love. Christ's love wants to be shown in this situation. Ugh. Knight of Air, Knight of Swords, that's kind of harsh communication. And the Page of Air. Yeah, someone literally the Page of Air is turned away. You both kind of, I feel like this is being aimed at you to a degree. Someone wants to come in fast, they want to prove their point, but they speak, again, very, very, someone caught you, right? They caught you. You were in a moment of panic, or you didn't know. You forgot. You had all this knowledge and wisdom, but you didn't, for whatever reason, and you got caught, okay? Whoever you are in this situation, I feel it. Temperance. Time has passed, and this was probably a long time ago. But this little rodent is being beaten by a stick. chasing away a varmint. So maybe you got punished. You got punished? Yeah, someone got angry, especially with temperance here in the Knight of Air, because temperance actually does speak to alchemy. You got beat, right? You were afraid to confess because you got beat when you did wrong as a child, right? When you take the law into your own hands, Libra, all right, your mama, your daddy, put down the law, if you know what I mean, and they did it harshly, so you learned how to get good at lying when you had to, Why? Because we were afraid of those beatings. You know what I'm saying? We're afraid of getting that ass whooped. You know what I mean? So, lessons. Lessons, Libra. Shit. Oh, someone's getting their ass torn up. Okay, someone told a lie, right? Gotta be real with you. Someone told a lie. And the universe beat your ass. The universe beat your ass. Libra there. That's it. It's like this. Someone's getting a spiritual ass whooping. And again, this doesn't have to be you. Relate it to your life, how it applies. What I'm saying is someone who lied or who did you wrong, very wrong in a situation, or cheated, okay, they getting spiritually beat by the universe. So the universe is coming in and beating their ass. That's it. That's the message, Libra. Someone who did you wrong, insurmountably, beyond, and that's the difference between you, Libra, and whoever I'm speaking to here. I feel like you're okay with taking on the burden yourself. You're prepared for that. Most of you are. If you know you're gonna do wrong, you're prepared for that consequence. You're prepared. Yeah, I did wrong. I'm prepared to serve my time. I'm prepared to take that justice, whatever that is. I'm prepared. Especially if I know I have to, if I'm in a position where I have to do wrong. Right. Someone else wasn't prepared. Someone else wasn't prepared for the same justice that you were prepared for. They weren't prepared to receive the same sentence that you were prepared to receive, Libra. They tried to be you. Well, you want to know what it's like to be a Libra? I'm seeing the scene from Lawrence of Arabia. And Charlton Heston, he's talking to the kid about the fire, about flame. Oh yes, thank you. How's this all tying back into the School of Athens fresco? The rebirth through fire. Libra, really quickly. The reason I even got started on this was because of Zoroaster. I did a reading on the channel talking about sacred sites, and the person that came up in that reading was Zoroaster, holding the nebula, and it was speaking to Ateshka and about a rebirth through fire, okay? This is kind of what got this whole journey started on the School of Athens. Anyway, why that's important is because Charlton Heston, he was waving his hands through the fire over and over and over and over and over again, with seemingly no pain visible on his face. He was just combing his hand through the fire. And the guy he was talking to, I can't remember, was looking at him and he's like, how do you bear that? Doesn't it hurt? And it's, and Charlton Heston, Lawrence of Arabia says the key to, of course it hurts. The key is not minding that it hurts. Okay? Of course, there's a situation. Ooh, the Hanged Man. Passover. Jesus Christ here. And time, the Wheel of Fortune. Yes, of course the lesson hurt. The perspective hurt. What does Christ do? He's getting crucified, right? He's getting crucified for the sins of others. Something hurts, Libra. But you were prepared for the pain. You did it anyway, knowing what it was going to do to you. You were prepared to make the sacrifice. Also, there's something about Passover. that you're being passed over. I'm seeing the blood of the Lamb on the doorway. Moses, Moses. We did wrong, right? You were prepared for the consequence. If so be it. So be it. You were prepared to accept the consequence of your actions, Libra, no matter what they were. It's not that you don't feel pain, it's not minding the pain that you feel. Yeah, it hurts. But the trick is not minding that it hurts. And you move on anyway, Libra. Sing Passover. Libra? Now that could actually be speaking to like a military Passover, like when you're passed over, which means you didn't graduate, right? You didn't elevate. You didn't go to the next level. You didn't earn the next badge because you did something. You broke a code of conduct, or you did something. I'm getting that scene from Scent of a Woman with Al Pacino, and he's talking about ethics. You know, in that final speech, he's talking about not cheating. I will not sell someone out to buy another person to buy his future, right? But he's not a snitch. Yeah, right. He's not a schoolboy. He's not a do-gooder. He's, you know, yeah. It's like, he's not a bared man. That's right. A bared man. What a speech. You might need to watch that movie. Anyway, you might need to watch that movie, Libra. Scent of a Woman. You are a cheater and a liar, but not a snitch, Libra. You're not a snitch. Bared man. What the hell is that? This is such a crock of shit. Oh. You can't snitch. And again, a schoolroom, a classroom. There's something again to do with education, Libra. That's coming in hard. And it's relevant to the School of Athens, so it's all coming back. You're willing to undergo something. You're not willing to sell yourself out. You're not a sellout. Even if it means you get passed over. Even if it means you don't get the opportunities, the promotions, right? It means because you don't suck up. You don't do what everybody wants you to do. You don't cheat anymore. You know what that looks like in your life, Libra. You don't cheat anymore. And so you despise when people cheat against you. Because it's one thing, I'm willing to do something that I have to do, but I'm not going to hurt another person to achieve my success. I'm not going to sell out my soul for another person to achieve success. You're not a sellout. So Libra, there's something occurring in your life, somewhere, someone you're dealing with. Who sold out to achieve success. That's what we're talking about here. And sold out his friends, sold out his brothers, sold out her sisters, whatever. They were willing to cheat to get ahead. There. They were willing to take shortcuts to get ahead. You know? You weren't cheating to get ahead, Libra. You cheated because at the time you had to. You just, whatever. You were going through something hurtful, traumatic, painful, and your studies suffered because of it. At the time. At the time. Alright? This is what we're talking about. But you didn't cheat to hurt your fellow man. I didn't cheat to hurt my fellow student. You know what I mean? There's that. That's what we're talking about here today. So there's ethics then. I mean, cheating is cheating. Okay, but we're talking about the reason behind it. And that's the part that Libras get scorned for, but that's also the part that Libras you understand, because while you know the law, you can understand a person's reasoning. You said you understand where people are coming from, why they make the decisions they make. You know a person's reason for doing something. That's what makes you the justice scales. That's why you rule the 7th house of relationships, because you understand reason. You have a reason. And Libra, you always have a reason for what you do. Advice. Queen of Wands, Ace of Wands. A rebirth through fire, and the 10 of Earth. Libra, I think you paid the karma for that debt, for that past. Now is your new beginning. Now is your new beginning for that 7 of Air, for that cheating in the past. Right? Something about a baby. Someone could literally be lying about a pregnancy or the identity of a child. Again, speaking back to identity here. Libra, you're going after your own success, and maybe that's what people see about you and what they need to know. That's what's happening. Yeah, you're seeing right. And you're going to shine. You are going to shine. You're going to shine because you stayed in your integrity, Libra. You're going to shine for staying in your integrity. And if others are not prepared to be in their integrity with you, then you have no time for them. And that's the truth. It's not personal. Many people who want back in your life, Libra, have not met themselves as deeply as you have met yourself. Okay? They haven't done the work yet. They don't understand. They want your help. They want your assistance. They want your guidance. They want your friendship, your time, your energy. Your energy is what they want. They haven't. You gave it to them, Libra. You already gave it to them. You gave them a lot, and they just took, and they took, and they took, and they kept taking because you kept giving. And it puts you out of balance. Why did you keep giving, Libra? Because you felt guilty. You felt guilty in the past. You thought you didn't earn it. You were also made to feel guilty about something you had earned. You actually had earned it, Libra. But, shit happens, right? Wow, Libra. Let's get a wealth code for you. You've been through a lot, honey. You've made mistakes. Some knowingly, some unknowingly. And you've also tried to forgive. Some people don't deserve your forgiveness. And some people, it's not that you have to go around resenting these people. That's not what I'm saying, Libra. It's not saying that you have to go around holding this hate in your heart. No, not at all. In fact, you already have forgiven many of these people. That's not it. But forgiving people doesn't mean allowing them a place at your table, allowing them a seat at your table. Because unfortunately, what you're finding is you can't trust them anymore. Because they don't trust themselves. That's what it's about. You can trust yourself, Libra, to make the hard decision. because you trusted yourself to stay in your integrity. You've had the opportunities to cheat. You've had the opportunities to do wrong. You've had the opportunities to lie and to throw your fellow man under the bus. You've had those opportunities, but you didn't. You didn't. You didn't. But they did to you. First chance they got. First chance they got, they did to you. And that's the part. Well, you just have to learn. You can't. What is it like being like Christ He knew his disciples, each of them, were going to betray him. Jesus Christ knew that, right? Christ knew it. He knew each of his own disciples would eventually betray him, even if they didn't want to. But he knew it. Because when you channel this energy, and you become a receiver of Christ consciousness, like Jesus, it comes with it a certain label, a certain badge, because you achieve a level of consciousness that your fellow man simply has not. Not that they can't, but they haven't. They don't know how you do it. They don't know how you did it. And that's scary to them. That's why you're persecuted. That's why you're crucified. That's why the crime or the sentence doesn't match the crime, Libra. And yet he loved them anyway. You love them anyway. That's why the Ace of Water is here. You have love anyway, despite. But you know ultimately what's going to happen. The Wheel of Fortune is going to happen. Fate, destiny is going to happen. But each person has to meet themselves at this impasse. Vertex. It's a vertex. I'm seeing the Two of Wands in my mind. And I'm seeing the infinity loop, the Magician's infinity loop. The 8. Karma. One for Libra, please. I surrender the need to know how my wealth will manifest and embrace knowing that it will. Between the two sphinxes here. I surrender knowing how my wealth will manifest and embrace simply knowing that it will. Don't worry about the how, Libra. That's not important now. I allow myself to be held in the cosmic womb of celestial abundance. And the portal. Opportunities for wealth and more are bountiful in my life. Opportunities for wealth are more bountiful in my life than the stars in the galaxy. Here we have a portal, Libra. I feel like you're already on the other side of that portal. But this is the other side, Libra. Welcome. This is the other side. Someone wants the key to your gate. You couldn't give it to them even if you wanted to. Please know that. That decision, honestly, isn't even yours. It's not even yours. Those who are meant to meet you will. They simply will. They'll have found that place in their hearts and their integrity to find you. That's the key, guys. That's it. When you find that, you'll know. Promise you. Libra. I hope you found messages here. I hope there was a message in here for you. If this resonated with you guys, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's grow. And I can't wait to deliver more messages like this in the future. I hope this helped you. Take care, Libra. Bye for now.